Good evening. What is going on? How are you, Jesse? Good. DB Mac and Kathy Hayes. How are you guys? Neck, how are you, brother? Janie. Good evening. Can you all hear me? Maybe. What's up, Nicola? How are you? Can you guys hear me? I did say hi to everybody that's in the thing. Jesse, DB, Matt, Kathy, Shackleneck, Jane, Nicola. What's up, Caden? How are you, bud? Tyler, Steven, how are you? What's going on, Joe? Nicholas Carroll, how are you? Can you guys hear me? Can someone at least answer me that? Instead of saying hi to each other, just say, I can hear you. Audio's good. Thank you. I ask a question and everybody like,
hey, what's up, guys? Hey.
I'm just kidding. Oh. Hey, Simone, how are you? Jane, did you hear me say hi to you? Mr. Kaufman, Nexus, Troy, Steady Rockin'. What's going on? Delirium. Russell Potter, how are you, buddy? Fuji. Leave it up to Jane. Leave it up to Jane. What's going on, Monty? How are you? Dis, how are you this evening? William Menendez. What's up, Glenn? Damian Bloodstone. Aramic. Right on time, baby. Right on time. Steph, how are you? Steph, I got your email. I'm going to set up an interview with a guy tomorrow out of Kentucky, but I want to talk to you about your email. So I'm going to give you a call this week. I wanted to give you a call earlier, but I just got fucking distracted with life. So I apologize. Jay Cree, how are you? And welcome to the channel, Jay Cree. I hope I said your name right. If I didn't, you can kick me in the shin. What's up, Gringo? The best name on this fucking show, Gringo. I fucking love that name. I want to get a new pet so I can name him Gringo. Hey, Tommy, how are you? Aramic, I got some Mothman experiences for you. Thank you, Dis. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming, and you know, I can't be any more ecstatic than I am. What's going on, 59th? How are you? George, how are you, buddy? So I got a stack, once again, another stack. Arthur Ostrander, how are you? And I have some awesome lot lizard experiences for you guys. Some lot lizards. Oh, let me shut that door a little bit. But I think it's time that we start the night off with, and yes, the police car is right there. He's probably, because $20 is $20. Fuji, you live in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. I just read in an article that I was looking at that you guys are in the midst of having like a huge earthquake within the next couple of days. So if you are in that region where they do have it, please be careful. And I'll be thinking about you, and we will investigate. Thank you, William. Wildman's mom, how are you? What's up, Justin Russell? Naroshi, how are you, buddy? I think what we'll do, I got 2 lot lizard stories. So what I'll do is I'm going to start the night off with a real encounter because I don't want people, popping into a lot lizard experience. So I'll start it off with a real encounter, then a lot lizard, then we'll go through the night, and then probably couple experiences before we end. We'll do the second lot lizard one. No dumbs are getting taken out. No way. They may be putting them in deeper, but where the earthquakes in California are happening, I looked at the map actually now that you mention it, and it doesn't look like it's around that area. Hey, Mr. Rabbit and Company, how are you? So I think we will start. All right, we're going to start the evening. Ugh. We'll start the evening with a J Channel. How are you? We'll start the evening with a Dogman encounter, and then we will work our way into whatever else we got going on. And then lot lizard. Dogman, lot lizard. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Obviously, the Hopkinsville demons and such. Nadine Smith and her husband and their son Shane moved into a trailer park as they were waiting for their house on a base. Nadine's husband was in the military, and they moved a lot. I'm too excited. All right, I'm starting over. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Nadine Smith and her husband and their son, Shane. They moved into a trailer park as they were waiting for housing on the base. Nadine's husband was in the military, and they moved around a lot. One day, Nadine and Shane were out playing in the yard when they found a dead dog. They quickly determined that it was the neighbor's dog, and sadly, the neighbors weren't around. So they ended up burying the pooch in the woods near the tree line. The next day, they went out to check the grave, and the animal was gone. Soon after, Nadine began seeing a creature out by the tree line. It had blood-red eyes and stood, she's guessing, somewhere between 8 feet. It appeared to be a bipedal creature of some sort. She began seeing it quite frequently. Her husband assumed that she was exaggerating, but 2 or 3 weeks later, he saw it as well. He saw the red eyes and also heard the grunting and groaning. He went outside with a shotgun to confront it, but the creature was gone. Nadine decided to ask some neighbors around the trailer park if they had ever seen anything weird in the area. Her neighbors seemed uninterested to speak to her about it, and a few even shunned her entirely. As she walked around the park one day, she spotted inside one of the abandoned and locked trailers, red eyes staring back from a window. Whatever it was inside the trailer. Around this time, Shane began having reoccurring nightmares and would wake in a panic. Rock and steady, thank you, my friend. And would wake in a panic. He claimed that the creature was looking at him through the window at night. They would attempt to calm him down by telling him it was just a nightmare and nothing more. One night, they ran into the room during one of these night terror instances, and both Nadine and her husband saw the red-eyed creature in the window looking in. Nadine described it as having black and brown fur, standing upright with red eyes. She noted that to her, it looked like an upright walking wolf. She decided to do some research and found out about skinwalkers and came to believe that the creature might be one of those. While her husband was away at work, Nadine, too scared to stay alone, asked a friend to stay over. One night during this time, they heard guttural growls coming from outside as well as noises. Both women looked out the door and observed an upright walking black wolf with red eyes looking back at them. Nadine noted that it appeared to be angry and bolted in the direction. They went inside. Just then, their 14 by 8 trailer started to shake violently. Life and Times of JCM. Thank you, my friend. As they were preparing to call the police, everything stopped. They opened the door and the creature was gone. Nadine and her husband decided that it was probably best to move. They packed their things and drove away. They were in such a haste to get out from the area that they ended up leaving some of their furniture behind. Nadine's husband claims that even on the last day while packing the car, he could see red eyes watching him from the tree line. Rockin' Steady, thank you for the love. Life and Times of JCM. Thank you, my friend. Hey, Claire, how are you? If Fly Guy was real. I don't think Fly Guy is real. So, what did you guys think about the upload that I did the other day with this map? 5-state hotspot being Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky. I looked into it a little more, and judging on subscriber submitted experiences and the amount of attacks between 2019 and 2022, I want to say that I think I'm onto something. I really think I'm onto something. What's up, Johnny? Johnny Ohm, IE Native, how are you? But I had gotten an email from a subscriber saying that I had forgotten Maryland. And I was like, I didn't forget Maryland. I just don't consider Maryland part of that 5-state hotspot. I think that it, like I said in the other videos, that these creatures will go north and go south because they are nomadic. I don't consider Maryland a hotspot because, yes, there are experiences there, but not as much as that area and for such a long period of time. I want to look at the West Coast and the Western states to see where, because there's got to be more throughout the country. They just don't stem from there and go everywhere. I just think that's the East Coast. Exactly, Nicola. Exactly. What's up, Danny Marie? How are you? Howard, how are you? Do something different. What's going on? Nino, how are you, my friend? You sexy MFer. Charlie Knight, how are you, buddy? Renee, how are you? HD Reaper, what's going on? I don't have anything from Washington tonight, Life and Times. I will next week purposely put one out there for you, though. Maybe back later. DC, have a good night. I hope you do come back later. All right. Lot Lizard experience. Remember, this is not real. This experience is not real. It is fiction. This is a lot lizard experience. It was a dark and stormy night as Jason drove his truck down a lonely highway. He had been on the road for hours, trying to make it to his next delivery on time. As he approached a rundown truck stop on the side of the road, he noticed a figure standing under the flickering neon sign. As he got closer, he could see that it was a woman dressed in revealing clothes, her long hair blowing in the wind. Jason hesitated for a moment, but then pulled over to the side of the road. The woman approached his truck, her high heels clicking on the pavement. "Looking for some company, handsome?" she asked with a sultry smile. Jason hesitated, but the loneliness of the road got the better of him. He nodded, and the woman climbed in his truck. They exchanged pleasantries as they drove off into the night. As they reached a secluded excuse me. As they reached a secluded spot, the woman suddenly changed. Her eyes turned black and her skin began to crack and split, revealing a monstrous creature beneath. Jason screamed in terror as the creature lunged at him, its razor-sharp teeth glinting in the moonlight. Jason fought for his life, desperately trying to fend the creature off with whatever he could find in his truck. But it was no use. The monster was too strong and too fast. With a final gut-wrenching scream, Jason was silenced forever. The next morning, a passing truck found Jason's abandoned truck, the door hanging open and the interior covered in blood. The police were called, but no trace of the monster or the mysterious woman was ever found. Rumors began to spread among truck drivers who frequented that lonely stretch of the highway. They whispered of a truck stop prostitute who was no ordinary woman, but a monster in disguise. Some claimed to have seen her themselves lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim. One by one, the truck drivers began to disappear. Some were found ripped to shreds, their bodies mutilated beyond recognition. Others simply vanished, leaving behind nothing but their abandoned trucks and a trail of blood. Authorities were baffled, unable to explain the string of gruesome murders that plagued the highway. The truck stop was eventually shut down, a once bustling hub of activity, now a ghostly reminder of horrors that had taken place. To this day, the legend of the truck stop prostitute monster lives on, a cautionary tale for those who dare to travel the lonely highways of the world. And as the sun sets and darkness falls, the creature still roams, waiting for its next unsuspecting victim to cross its path. The lot lizard. Damn! Gotta love the lot lizards. What's going on, Pine Knot? How are you? Hey, Rita. How are you? Shari, how are you? Aramik, thank you, my friend. Jeez, Crow, thank you. Thank you for the blessings. And Aramik will do a Mothman experience for Aramik. Hitting 20 members. Thank you so much, man. Wow. You really are the tits. Johnny, have you heard of the manga called Dog Ninja? It's not really called Dog Ninja. I just can't use the second word due to this. No, I haven't, but my daughter may have. She's big into anime and manga. What's up, John Sunder? Yes, it is. It is starting to look like a house again. And thank you for blessing me, Johnny. I'll have to check it out. I'll ask Isabel later tonight if she knows what it is. And I'm just guessing the censored word. What's up, Chrissy? How are you? Yeah, I know what he meant, life and times. Hey, Liz. All right. This one's dedicated to Aramic and the 20 people that he blessed. What's up, Ginger? I am looking for answers to what my daughter and I saw in the sky, and there are similar stories to ours. I'm from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and approximately 2 years ago, to this day, my daughter and I were riding our bikes. It was bright that night due to the full moon, not many clouds in the sky, but a few that would once in a while make the night a little darker. We stopped by a friend's house. Her and her two daughters came out, and we were all just talking. I happened to look up in the sky, and there was this flying, long human-shaped thing with a wingspan of 7 to 8 feet wide. It reminded me of the movie Jeepers Creepers. My mouth just kind of opened, and I was speechless, pointing as it went behind the cloud near the moon. I told them what I had just witnessed, and everyone kind of giggled. And I told them that it didn't come out of the clouds yet, to keep looking. Well, to our eyes, it appeared again. My daughter just stood there watching, repeating to herself, "Mom, what is that?" I know she had the same hard-to-swallow feeling I did. While my friend's two girls ran inside screaming, we watched as it flapped and soared near the moon till it disappeared into the clouds again, never to come out. I know what I saw that night, but wouldn't know what to call it except for a flying human-like creature. An experience I would never take back, and when I hear others, I really want to believe they had seen the same thing I had. My daughter, to this day, now 14, feels there is so much out there that we really don't know about. What is a myth and what is real? A night we will never forget in keeping herself busy researching the Jersey Devil to Mothman to Bigfoot. It's out there. I live approximately 1 hour outside of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and while on my way, this is another experience. I live approximately 1 hour outside of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and while on my way to my now wife's home to visit as the sun was going down, my best friend at the time was driving as we were all just hanging out. I was listening to music and looking out the passenger side window, just enjoying the woodland as I normally do. As we approached an opening on the side of the road for the power lines towers, I saw a lanky, humanoid-looking creature with huge black wings flying up into the clearing. The event shocked both myself and my friend at the time who was driving so much that we decided to turn around and try to get a better look. By the time we had returned to that spot, however, there was no sight of it. He and I never really spoke about this with anyone for fear of ridicule. But the instant I saw this and read other experiences, I felt the need to share that I had an experience near Cherry Hill as well. The mom and daughter are not crazy. I know what I saw. I've lived in the woods of New Jersey my entire life and have seen almost all of the natural wildlife that occurs within it. And this was not one of them. The location was at Landis Avenue in Buena Vista Township, New Jersey. The sun was kind of going down, so there was still some light shining in the area. A very bizarre creature, whatever it was. Judith, how are you? What's up, Jay? Howard? No, definitely not a Jersey Devil. More or less a Mothman. I had a guy, his name is, let me see if the book is still in here. No, it's not in here. Is it? No. Yep. Here it is. So I had a gentleman who's now a friend of mine. His name's Paul Evans Pedersen Jr. And he wrote this book, The Legendary Pine Barrens. Now, I reached out to him because I had seen him on another YouTube channel. And I was watching YouTube with my daughter at the time. This was a couple years ago. And she was big into Sam and Colby. Loved them. And so we were watching it together, our Sunday little treat that we did together. And he was talking about Bigfoot and cryptids in New Jersey. So I actually reached out to him, and him and I became pretty good friends. He never heard of Dogman, and now he's been researching the Jersey Devil for 40 years. He thinks that a lot of these Dogman or a lot of these Jersey Devil sightings may be a Dogman sighting instead of a Jersey Devil. Thank you, Judith. Greetings, Mary 999. Fire Horse, how are you? Hey, Sonia. Robert Sharp, what's going on, buddy? There's Steve. How are you, bud? Hey, Stormy Light. Randy Man. Stacy Lockett, how are you tonight, dear? Probably YouTube did that, Shackleneck. Craigers, how are you, buddy? Claire Harris. Yes. My dad, thank you for asking. Hey, Jessica. My dad is doing Have I Seen a Dogman? Yeah, that's why I started this channel. I've been researching Dogman and cryptids and the paranormal for 30 years, since 1994 Starry Night. I don't consider myself a YouTuber, even though I have a channel. But Claire Harris, thank you. My dad is doing a lot better. He's still coming mentally. He's still coming to terms with 7 months of his life being in a hospital and not remembering 5 of it. He's walking a mile every day, sometimes a little more. He needs to gain a lot more weight, but beside that, he's doing freaking awesome. So thank you for asking. I'm not a creepypasta channel, Mike. But thank you for showing up. What I saw Starry Night, what I saw in 1994 was very tall. It looked like it didn't belong on this planet. It resembled Anubis. It looked very strong. It wasn't jacked like a cut bodybuilder. But you could tell that it was very strong. There was others in the woods with it, but the one that I saw was just, you could tell, was very, very strong and very dangerous. Mountain Bike Kid, how are you? J-Dad, happy birthday to J-Dad's granddaughters. Pam, thank you. Mike Turner, what's going on, brother? I will, Stormy, your dad is in my prayers. I have promised you. Hey, Tyler Marshall, how are you, dearie? How was the movement? I hear they move as if they are floating. They were trucking through the woods. When me and my friends we weren't drinking, we weren't doing anything. I was 17, and they were coming through the woods. We could see them, and just you could hear them smashing through the trees. I don't know how that one that we saw close up got to where it was, because we were in a car coming out of the road and it was standing at the end of the road, like on the corner of the wood line. But what I saw and heard, they were just smashing through. But once again, Stormy Light, your dad is in my prayers. Alicia, how are you? I'm glad you're here with us. Tyler Marshall, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Tyler Marshall. Happy birthday to you. You live in a zoo. No, you don't. You live probably in a nice house. But happy birthday. I'm glad that you're spending your birthday with us. Thank you. That's awesome. That means a lot to me. So thank you. Candy Phillips, how are you? I didn't say hi to you. I apologize. I'm glad that you're here with us too, Alicia. Ninos, you sexy motherfucker. I am so glad you are here. Every time I see that face, I just, I get this bubbles going. Right, Tommy? Boozy Fuss. How are you? I know, Ermic. I know Mothman is not real to you. I know. And that's why I love you. Because I will argue that case with you till the day I die. Which I hope is not soon. Neck. Awesome. Are you going up? Are you going up to the Bigfoot Fest again, brother? Tyler, I am honestly happy that you're here with us. All right, we will connect again then. Oh, yeah. How about a black-eyed kid story? Tigger is sitting outside of the hall because I kicked him out because I'm not even going to talk about what he did, but he's a scumbag. And, well, I'll tell you, he jumped on my lap and he had a poop ball on his ball sack and it dropped off and landed on my lap. So I had a fucking shit nugget that big from my cat on my lap. And I was like, buddy, you dick. He is a precious kitty. He is precious. Oh, let's see if he's right there. Good boy. Buddy. Buddy. Come here, buddy. Buddy. We'll shake something. He'll come. Buddy. He'll come sooner or later. Yeah, I can't believe it. Dude, it was gross. He just I'm sitting here. I was getting shit ready for the live stream. And all of a sudden, he jumps up on my lap. And I'm patting him, right? And I'm like, why does it smell like Tigger's litter box in my studio? And he jumps down and I look and it was literally like that big. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You just shit on me. Buddy. He did. He's not a selfish cat, you know. He's not selfish. He's a giver. 5 rings. What's going on, brother? Are the Dodgers still ahead? Last I knew they were. Sharing is caring. Black-eyed kids experience. Here we go. Alan Howell, how are you, buddy? Anna Hill, how are you? It was late October 2019. I was cooking while listening to my favorite radio station when I heard someone knock at the door. I'm wondering who could it be, given that I live alone and at the moment I was not waiting for anyone, but since I was used to accepting Amazon deliveries from some neighbors, I headed straight to the entrance. While the knocking grew stronger and more consistent, the situation was weird since the couriers normally use the doorbell until then. But at that moment, I didn't give it too much importance. I opened the door and found myself in front of a child who appeared to be no more than less than 10 years old. He was wearing strange clothes. I thought he could have come from the countryside. He immediately told me, "I need help. Let me in." I asked him why and where his parents were. Was he lost? He simply replied, "I have to enter." His voice was flat, monotone, almost synthetic. It was not the kind of voice you would expect from a child. At first, I couldn't look at him straight in the face, partially because it was twilight and partially because he was looking towards his feet. He then put his hand on the door frame. There was something odd that I couldn't explain, and it was scaring me. I didn't know exactly what it was because, hey, he's just a child. I wanted to close the door, but I couldn't do it. Something in my mind was preventing me. Perhaps the internal conflict that breaks out when someone you take for granted turns out to be different without giving you an ability to assimilate it. At that moment, he stared at me, and I immediately realized that his eyes were solid black. There was no iris, there was no sclera, just darkness. It was a surreal situation. He was there right before my very eyes, and I was scared. I kept staring at him, being unable to look away from this deep black. I was stuck. In a flat, calm voice, he said, "I need help. Let me in. I'm just a child." My body wanted to abruptly close the door with force, but his eyes told me not to. My mind told me not to. I felt compelled to do what he asked me to do. The only thought in my mind was, in fact, he is just a child who simply needs help. I moved aside and I let him in. He kept looking at me with those empty eyes. Aramic, thank you so much. The odd thing is that they were empty, but at the same time, they instilled me with a sense of peace that I had never felt before. At this point, I didn't know if he was speaking verbally or telepathically. I was confused. It was like he was inside of my head. He introduced himself as Eli. He took my hand, and I felt a slight energy kind of go through my skin. That same kind of feeling you get when you put the laptop power supply on the skin and your hair stands up. I don't know exactly what he did at that moment, but he told me about religions and death, how they were used for a purpose of power, how reality was distorted. He showed me horrible things, unspeakable things, and I felt his suffering. All in the name of God, whatever religion it is. He also told me that God, we believe, does not exist. There is only energy and souls, and I believed him at that moment. He then said he would be back. He simply left the house, turned the corner, and I never saw him again, but I still wait. Even though I honestly think he is a demon, I still wait for him to come back. And to this date, no negative events have ever occurred to me since. Dude, definitely a demon. Definitely a demon. Aramic, thank you. Aramic, thank you. You are too kind. I cannot thank you enough. But yeah, I totally think that demon 100%. What's up, Joseph? Oh, you know, I always thought like they may be demonic or aliens, but I don't know. Now I think about it, I've been thinking about some crazy stuff, and I don't like to talk about like some things that I ideas that I have or some theories that I have for certain reason because you know you say something and people just take it out of context. But I'm really starting to think that these aliens that people are seeing, the ones that do harm to humans, I think they may be demons. And maybe the perception that we get that they're coming out of the sky, maybe they are, but not from like outer space, but from a dimension, that dimension being hell. I don't know. Just an idea. Red Cardinal, how are you? Ah, you dirty dog. Not bad, two-way. How are you, my friend? Ryan Mack, how are you? Linda Thomas, Brandy C, Moondog Rex. There's people that are going to be like, there's people that are like, well, demons are demons and aliens are aliens. Maybe, but, it's always good to like speculate and have a theory, Like, I don't want to be in a box. Like, I want to be outside of the box so I can see everything that's going on. And I don't want to be closed off, I think as long as I know that Jesus Christ is my savior, I can think anything else that I want. I can think, oh, this is that and this is that. Jesus is my savior. That's just my own opinion. Thank you, Judith. $20 is $20.
Oh,
J Channel. I made an announcement in a video. The book's coming out the 23rd. Elon. Yeah, I heard that too. I think Elon is bad though. I don't trust Elon. Jersey Nightcat, how are you? I don't trust Elon, and I'll tell you why. One, because a couple of years ago he was warning us about AI. All right, and now he wants to do and create AI with human people, like, and I just think that there's something off about him. I think that he's far too smart for his own good, and I think that he's bad. I think he's a little bit of a bad person, but I still like him. Yes, Justin, the empty police car is right down the road. I bet you do, Rockin' Steady. And I bet you get medieval on his booter hole. Puma Pete, do you have Starlink? Tigger could probably maul a Dogman. You do have. How is it? How does Starlink? Is Starlink compared to your old internet service? It's awesome. I've been thinking about getting it. Hey, you don't have to be $20 is $20 to just play with Elon's booter. It's awesome. They have terrible customer service. Ugh. I'll do it for $5. Yeah, buddy. I'm getting Starlink in 2 months from my place. I've been thinking about it because it seems like it's cheaper because I have Spectrum. I have Spectrum right now, and I have a router here and a router in the back of the house for Isabel. And it just, the price comparison is, I save a shitload of money, and if it's that good. John, it's not just for disabled people. Right now, they're doing it on actually, they didn't, there's one other person that they just did it on that is not disabled. And, I didn't say I didn't like him. I just think there's a lot of weird shit about him. And I'm allowed to think that. Just like Rock and Steady is allowed to do things for $5 with him. No, home and Starlink is awesome. All right. You got me. Danny just sold me on Starlink. Thank you, Gothy Hayes. There's just something weird about him, like, I don't know. I was watching him with Lex Friedman the other day, and I love Lex. But something was off, Something was just off. All right, here we go. I'd like to share with you a series of events with my siblings and I. We had a house in Southwest Florida back in the early to mid 80s. For over a week, our neighborhood had a series of what I believe were werewolf stalkings. It was June, I think maybe 9 p.m. I was out on the back patio. At the time, no one had fences around their property because all of us knew the other families around the area. The only exception was the family across the street from us. They had a tall 7-foot cinder block wall. Fuck, I read this one already. I'm going to finish it. Tall 7-foot cinder block wall behind their home. They had a large wooded piece of property and kept equipment back there. The dad was in construction and the wall was enclosed on 3 sides of the property. It was hot and slightly breezy, no clouds and starry. As I sat there, you could hear the dogs in the neighborhood begin to bark. Then everything got quiet. A lone howl started, so I howled back. I do that rather well. I watch National Geographic and mimic wolf cries. Anyway, this went on for 5 minutes. Each time the howl from the other end got closer. Down the road are train tracks that run north to south. The sound seemed to be coming from that direction. I started to get spooked out. I had to skip the ads. I started to get spooked as the howling stopped. Our yard has brush and trees on the side from where the sound was coming. The hair on my arms and neck were standing up, and I felt like I should go in. As I stood, I heard the movement from the brush. I glanced over and saw something move. I did not want to see what it was, so I booked it in the house, and I stood by the door, which had glass panes. I watched as something very large and dark moved about the brush. It moved away, and I could no longer see it from my vantage point. I went to the front porch to look out the windows, hoping to get a better look at whatever it was. And nothing ever came that way. So I did go to bed and read a book while calming down. About less than an hour later, my brother came in. He came into my room, white as paper. He was shaking all over. His eyes were the size of saucers, and I asked him if he was okay. Now, my brother is the sort that has an explanation for everything unusual, and he's a big guy, so for him to be in this state was not normal. He said, "You need to come with me right now. I'll explain when we get in my truck." I was still dressed, so I got up and went with him. When we got outside, I asked, "What's going on?" He told me there was something in the road by the tracks he needed to show me first. I was not happy about this, as I had my own experience just moments ago with something from that area. As we got there, it looked as if something had exploded all over the road. There was blood everywhere. I was as if a person had mowed down in that spot, but there was no body parts. My brother relayed then what he had seen coming down the road. I was coming home, and as I got closer to the tracks, there was this huge thing lying in the road. I thought it must have been a Mastiff or a Great Dane. But as I pulled up to it, it didn't look like a dog I had ever seen before. It was hairy, yeah, and its head and nose were twice the size of a regular dog. The body was not dog-like, just dog-like, but much bigger. It was all over the place. There was an arm on the road, not a dog arm, a human arm. There was no trace of anything when we got there, and it had only been minutes from him to drive from our house back. I said that we need to get the hell out of here and now. So we went back home and I told him what I had just experienced when we got home. A couple of days later, my sister came to me and said she had been seeing a large dog prowling around at night. It was huge, and she had said she had seen it across the street as she sat on the porch. I told her what my brother and I had seen and not to go outside alone until we could find out what it was. We got together and decided to stake out the yard over the next couple of nights, and sure enough, it was in the neighbor's backyard. This thing was the size of a Shetland pony, black in color. We had flashlights and turned them on. It took off to the back wall behind the house. Their small dog was going crazy. We watched this dog-like thing scale the wall. The neighbor came out to see what was going on, and we shouted that there was something in his yard. He went back there and grabbed his pistol and went out back to look around, but by the time he came out, it was gone. What's up, Jim Baker? Woo Rider, what's going on? I just read something from Northeast Florida. That's crazy. Hey, Janelle, how are you? From San Antonio. I do have quite a bit of Texas experiences. I don't think I have any tonight, though. I'm sorry. Sunny and Wandering Gypsy, how are you? Who do you think would win in a face-off? Werewolf, Dogman. Werewolf every day. They're bigger. They're more aggressive. They're smarter. Brett Vandy, I just did one from... No, I didn't. Not from Northwest. I don't have any from Northwest. Not right now. Any from Northern Delaware. The only thing I think I have from Delaware is the experiences that I heard when I went up to the Conjuring House and did that paranormal investigation. Some can get 8 feet. Starry Night. I think what I saw was close to 7.5 because its head was even with the top of the stop sign. But I was in the car. Jersey Nightcat, thank you so much. Thank you. I don't have a map of sightings. It would take far too long for me to put together. I had Southern Charmer. I have a whole upload of experiences around the Sabine River area, actually. A lot of them are Bigfoot. There's a few Dogman ones. Never Nexus. Not from China. I've had a couple from Japan, but they were not Dogman. I did an upload about the robotic Dogman-like creature they have to scare some kind of thing away from the cow pastures and stuff, but JP, you're never late. You're here. This one's weird, and I speaking of the one at Costco, do you guys remember the interview I did with Jimmy Patanito, the guy who was the cameraman for the Ed and Lorraine Warren? And he was in the movie Hostage of the Devil, the movie about Father Malachi Martin. He emailed me the other day because he went to Costco and he got that 12-foot Dogman, and it's in his backyard right now. Like, he's got it erected in his backyard in Connecticut right now. He's so awesome. It'll be on Amazon, DB Mac. I'll let everyone know the day before. All right, Mike. You spelled Lake George wrong. Big guy, Moondog Rex. I don't honestly know boundary waters in Ontario. I know I've had a couple in Ontario, but not. I don't know the exact. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you guys because when I read it, I was like, "Holy shit! This is fucking creepy as hell." This experience was told to me by my wife, and it actually happened to one of her friends. I didn't get to hear it firsthand. The man this happened to is a large, no-nonsense security guard. A real quiet dude who likes to joke but isn't dramatic. My wife tells me that it's weird for him to tell an experience and not to have an end with a punchline. So, early November 2010, somewhere near Dublin, Virginia, Paul was walking through the woods toward his tree stand. It was deer season, and rifle in hand on a crispy early Saturday morning, he was ready to ambush some game. He excitedly arrived at the tree stand and took a seat at the top. Paul settled in and got comfortable. The only sounds he could hear were leaves scattering as they were being blown around in the wind. That morning, it was absolutely still. In his words, it was just damn peaceful. After a bit of time, he fell asleep. Suddenly, Paul jerked awake at a sound of scratching at the base of his tree. He said it was like a large cat or bear was scratching against a tree, putting its weight forward and scraping the bark off to mark its territory. Maybe a black bear or maybe even a cougar. No way it was a deer, though, and whatever it was standing directly under him. He leaned over the tree stand, trying to see whatever it was. As he did, it rushed away in the opposite direction and went behind the tree just out of sight, leaves loudly crunching under its feet as it went. Paul waited to see what it would do, gun ready. If it was a bear, it may try to climb up the tree, and he might have to shoot it. He thought it might be easiest to scare it off before it got aggressive. He aimed his gun up and fired a warning shot. The blast echoed over the forest and everything became still again. He didn't describe it as being peaceful this time. This time he called it fucking eerie. Nothing climbed up the tree as he had feared, but nothing ran from behind the tree as he had hoped. Nothing moved at all, just leaves swirling around in the wind. Paul began to wonder if it was a person instead of an animal. Maybe someone who was trying to play a trick on him, but was too scared of being shot to move now. He said, "Hey!" No response. He shouted again, "Come out, say something. I don't want to shoot you, but I will if you don't say anything." Again, nothing. He waited and thought animals don't stay still for this long, and it might be safe to come down. Paul slowly stood up and stepped out onto the crude wooden step nailed to the side of the tree. What the fuck was that? Paul scrambled around the tree stand and tried to look and see what it was, almost dropping his rifle as he went. Again, it was gone before he could catch a glimpse back behind the tree. Paul stood next to his seat and readied his rifle. Was this a person or an animal? Maybe a rabid animal or a mentally sick human, an escaped prisoner, he thought. He decided that being afraid was not the best thing to do in the situation, and instead of panicking, Paul waited. Unfortunately, the other thing was as patient as he and waited too. Neither moved as the sun changed position and the afternoon changed to dusk. Paul realized he had to relieve himself And if there was going to be a struggle, he could at least choose not to have it in darkness. Paul stood and stepped onto the ladder again and again as another thing scrambled around to the other side of the tree. He froze for a moment and then steadied himself and climbed down quickly, stumbling at the bottom, trying to ready his weapon, pointing it out, holding it tight against his shoulder. He walked backward, stepping through the leaves, and he could hear it moving like it was trying to stay hidden. Paul circled the tree until he was standing under the tree stand, and he noticed the scratches running parallel, 6 deep gashes in the tree, 2 sets of 3. Janelle, thank you so much. As he was looking at the marks left by the other thing, he saw a red arm. No mistake that it was a man, a red man. Paul was clear on this. I don't mean it was a red man like a Native American. I mean it was red, like the color of a stop sign, like devil red. Paul lowered his gun and stepped backward, and as he did, the red man stepped out from behind the tree. He was completely naked and smiling, his teeth showing white, the size of baseball cards in crooked patterns. His eyes were vacant and menacing. This red creature never blinked as it stared. Paul did not describe what his body looked like or offer a reason why this red-skinned man was naked. Paul took a step forward, and as he did, this red creature mirrored his actions exactly. Paul shook and stepped back. This red man creature froze as he did, but moved forward as Paul moved backward. Paul raised his gun and pointed it and said, "Stay back," loudly. The red creature began to walk toward him. Paul scrambled backward and was not prepared to shoot, not at another person. Paul stepped back and slung his rifle over his shoulder and began to run back in the direction of his truck. His feet quickly carrying him, he glanced over his shoulder and saw this red creature just standing there, staring at him. He slowed down and watched this red man shrink as he moved away, smiling and naked, staring. Paul lost sight of him a moment later, and it was dark by the time he reached his truck. He said, "Sometimes I lay awake, worrying if I'll see this creature again, who or whatever it was. He did let me go. He has not shared this since." I know. Demon, what do you guys think? Demon? What'd you guys see? And Janelle, thank you so much. Sorry, he's having to leave his family safety and move your channel, so I want to ask you. That's actually an old upload. The Luke Experience is an old upload, and that's why I do in the mornings. I do first video every day is brand new, and then throughout the day I will do an upload that is older for newer people coming in. Luke reached out to me, 2020, and there's actually, I'm going to make a playlist of all Luke's stuff. 5 generations of his family were plagued by walking wolves, what his family calls them. And he now lives in Maryland. His family home is no longer in the spot that it was. What's up, Lake 17? Justin Russell. I don't think he was feral, though, because he was red. He was not, like, painted red. Yeah, I saw that last week, no cap. I don't buy it. I've never seen a picture that I truly... I have one picture of one that I don't know what it is, but the one going viral on TikTok and YouTube, I don't believe it. There's another video that I just got shared with, or someone shared with me the other day, that this guy's out in the woods with his Roddy, and you can hear it freaking yelling. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. People are making a lot of AI videos, like that one. Remember that one video where it had the Dogman running around the woods and it said property of the US government, like on the fucking watermark of the video? People were like, it's real, it's real. And I'm like, how can you not tell that that's fake? Like, are you people like, not you people, but the people, like, nerd? Just a bit of a nerd. Yeah, AI generated shit is just it's really fucking up a lot. Like, and people that the sad and unfortunate thing is that we do know these creatures exist, right? So we are already labeled as fucking crazy. But everyone seems to take these like video clips and these photos as word, you know, or these creepypasta as word. Like, I think that's weird, you know. That's why I like only have experiences on the channel that are sent to me. Exactly, Truth Quest. Exactly, 100%. Did you guys see the new did you guys see the the new CERN? Yeah, definitely CERN has a hand in portals. But portals were around long before CERN. So you can't like, you know what I mean? Like, people are, I agree with you. CERN does create portals. But portals were in existence well before CERN. So you can't really say it's all CERN. Google it, Tyler Steven. Google it. Because you'll learn more by Googling the word than me explaining it to you. And I'm not being rude. I'm not trying to be a dick. But you will like, you'll learn everything. Read as much about it as you can. do something diff. CERN does create new portals, but you know, remember that day that I went hiking and I was talking about I just come up with a fucked up theory about Tom Mezek and when he disappeared. And there was, back in 2010 to 15, there was a guy that had found an abandoned bunker in Saranac Lake, New York. And he actually had a website about it. And it was full of beds that were child-sized beds. And supposedly MK Ultra was used. It was like an MK Ultra on children. And I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if like these children escaped and fucking hunted Tom Mezek down and took all his shit, and that's why we can't find it. But then I was starting to talk about how Native Americans had talked about portals and reptilian, Bigfoot, Dogman, well before the Europeans came. And I think that like well before the government made the pact with the alien agenda in the 30s, that the government was really getting answers from Native Americans. Like, I think 100% that Skinwalker Ranch was used to try to decipher how people can and do things that Native Americans, such as black shaman, can do. I don't know. MK Ultra is real, no, without a doubt. What's up, I Run With Scissors? How are you? Bobby's watching me on TV. Anyway, did you guys see the freaking new trailer for Tron? The new Tron? Holy shit. Nine Inch Nails is doing the soundtrack. Ha, yeah, buddy. I'll look at that, no cap. We sent you a video. I don't know what video. Yeah, Tron 3, Tron Legacy, I think it's called. The new Alien one looks real good too. Yeah, Jared Leto's like the bad guy in Tron now. I'm more excited about Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails doing the music, that's going to be sick. 2025, I heard. Alien Romulus looks really good. Yes. Yes, that's the reason why Trent Reznor named it Nine Inch Nails. Yep. I'm huge into music, so I knew that like 25, 30 years ago. Probably even longer. Trent is one of a kind. Dude, he bought a funeral home in New Orleans and one day was walking in the backyard with Brian Warner and it had like flooded and bodies were coming out of his backyard. Can you imagine that? Like you're in your backyard with Marilyn Manson and bodies are coming out of the ground because it's below sea level. Ugh. Closer. You know, do something. I went to Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson. I forget the year, but there was a videotape that, okay, so this is fucking weird. The videotape is still at my parents' house. I actually still own it. But there was a show in Rochester and I had went down there. I was probably 17, 18 maybe. And no, I was still in school. So I was like 16, 17. And Marilyn Manson, Portrait of an American Family, just came out or was coming out. And we go to the show, me and my buddy Martin, who's Czechoslovakian, who saw the Dogman with me. And there was this guy handing out video cassettes. And I got one. And I went home after the show and I put the video cassette in my VCR. And all of a sudden, it was Nine Inch Nails songs, but there was like a snuff film, and I thought it was real because, you know, the internet wasn't around. So I'm thinking, holy shit, this guy's getting killed on this video. And come to find out, it was made by Trent Reznor as like, just like this kind of whatever shock value. And I still have that VHS still to this day, no cap. It is freaking crazy. Like when they cut the guy with the chainsaw and oh, Jesus. Jesus. It's hot in here. CERN is an interesting rabbit hole to go into. Jane's going to bed? Janie's going to bed? Janie, have a good night, dearie. I'll text you tomorrow. I gotta tell you something funny. Seattle's muggy. Upstate New York is muggy. All right, this one's creepy. It was the year of 1964 in Davenport, Iowa. A decent-sized city, it lay on the Mississippi River. I've only heard about the events involving this demon from people in the area and from a few miscellaneous newspaper clippings that made their way to Nebraska. During the summer of '64, a couple were diving along the Mississippi on South Concord Street at night at around 11 p.m. As they were driving, he forgot to put the R, as they were driving, the woman, a Miss Clarissa Bell, pointed out something weird in the river water. Almost immediately after, something horrendous reared from the water and raced across the road, as put by Clarissa Bell when interviewed a few weeks after the second sighting, when it began to be taken seriously by the media. The couple barely had time to make out what it was, and the man, a Mr. Sampson Brown, slammed on the brakes. They stopped and thought that they had hit whatever it was. Clarissa, terrified yet, stayed in the car as Sampson got out and checked. While the car had been splashed with river water, it was undamaged, and they returned to town, only mentioning it as an oddity to their friends. It was late winter of '69 that a second report sighting of the demon was made. In this instance, the demon was seen by a married couple, Joel and Hank Miles, and their friend whose name had been forgotten in time. It was once again by the river, this time on River Drive on the way to Credit Island Park. The demon emerged from the river's icy surface in a sudden surprise lunge, landed on the roadway, Southern Lane, right in front of the car. Joel Miles had, when the couple reported to the newspaper, described it as ugly and vile, almost like a disfigured raccoon with the most godforsaken tentacles. Surprisingly, unless a frequent reader of such newspaper reports were witnessed that were together frequent contradict one another, Hank Miles had left out the comparison to a raccoon and described it almost catfish-like, except with tentacles instead of fins. This description was the same as their friends, except in a simpler comparison. Then in the '70s, reports grew of it until a climatic encounter in the fall of '75. Unlike most of the reports, this one was not on a car, but rather at a private boat ramp in Davenport Harbor. A Lee Anderson and his current missus, Brandy Cooper, were putting their boat into the harbor at night when the water began to have a strange light from it, as if there were searchlights underneath the water's surface. They were immediately entangled when suddenly the boat tipped, sending them both into the water, barely escaping. Lee Anderson reported that his missus had fallen in and drowned to the police, and the thing with tentacles had attacked the two of them. The burn marks on his body were explained by the idea of something electrical being dropped in the water with them. When the body of the missus was found, it was burned completely to almost unrecognizable, except for the face. This first deadly encounter led to Lee being charged with manslaughter, despite his reporting it as an animal attack, and the wounds being nearly impossible for a man to make without specific equipment. And Lee Anderson was sentenced to prison. He committed suicide a week after being out on parole. Throughout the '70s, several more reports were made. By the '80s, when the last major newspaper report of the Davenport demon was made, which was another event like the first death from the demon, it had become a local legend. To this day, it is unknown if the Davenport demon was real or if it was a simple scapegoat for accidents and murders that people tried to use. While there are some people who claim to have seen it still, none of these experiences have been put in the newspaper and have merely been mentioned by people who live in Davenport. And even then, mainly people who have been hunting it, much like the more popular Bigfoot hunters. Is anybody from Iowa here? Jay, have a good night, brother. Fuji. Have you ever heard of Davenport, Iowa, Sonia? And have you heard of that demon? We will investigate, Fuji. We will investigate. Slipknot, Iowa. That's like their greatest album was Iowa. I'm so glad that Corey's their singer and not the original guy, though. Gregory Alexander, have you ever heard of that? Rockin' steady. Have a good night, my friend. Be safe, all right? Thank you for joining us tonight. You know I love seeing you. I love seeing you. Hang on a second. I got to change real quick. Hang on 1 second, guys. I'm coming back, guys. I'm coming back. Oh, man, it's too hot. Never a topic of conversation. Dang it. 20 bucks is 20 bucks. All right. I'm almost 100% positive my mom, sister, and the pool guy had some kind of weird three-way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm almost 100% positive my mom, sister, and the pool guy saw some sort of shapeshifter or witch or something while staying at a Native American casino in Sloan, Iowa. Holy shit. My sister and I were in the pool, and my mom was chilling reading a book. This lady, light-skinned with freckles and almost yellow eyes, walks into the pool with jeans on and a sweater, starts circling the pool and staring at my sister and myself. We didn't notice, but my mom did. Eventually, my mom starts staring at her, and the lady stops and asks my mom what she's reading. My mom sketched out and starts giving my sister and I the "get the fuck out of the pool now" look. We got out of the pool not knowing anything, and we got to the table and asked, "What's wrong?" She says the lady was asking if my sister's hair was real and asks if she cuts it, if it'll come back, and other weird crap. The lady goes into the woman's restroom, and we are sitting there calming down and gathering our stuff. Time goes by, like 15 minutes, and this lady never comes out. My mom eventually asks the pool guy if she saw her go to the bathroom. The pool guy responds, "Yeah, I just cleaned it. I'll go check." He comes back with books of matches, 2 handfuls. He tells us there's no way he forgot to clean up those matches and didn't see the woman in there. Just as we were doing that weird what the hell was with her weird face, this woman walks out of the bathroom and leaves. We all just watch her walk out of the pool area toward the casino. The pool guy turns and said, "I'll never forget. I don't know where she came from. Was she hiding? How did she stay in there? Was she Houdini? I never saw her." We were shaking. My mom didn't even want the valet. She wanted to leave ASAP. We went to our room, packed our stuff, and went to our van. As we were about to pull out, this brownish black dog with yellow eyes came out of nowhere and sat in front of our van. The dog walked up and sat down and stared directly at us like it was at attention. My mom flashed the lights, honked the horn, revved the engine. The thing wouldn't move. Then my sister goes, "Oh my God, it's the same eyes the woman had." My sister was sitting in the passenger seat, and the dog calmly walks over to the passenger door, gets up to the window, and stares directly at my sister. The last thing I remember was my mom screaming, "Leave her alone," while tucking her head. I didn't know if it was going to start barking or what. We made it to the gas station, which was next door, and my mom had gathered herself, bought a coffee, gassed up, and we drove home. Ain't ever been back to that place, and not sure if I ever want to. Steph, have a good night, my friend. What's the weirdest creature I ever heard about? Honestly, the creature, probably the one that Steph had talked about. Not the hide behind, but the one with the weird ears that looked human-like, and the aquatic creature that Victor talked about with like the razor arms. That's what I would say. Steph, I'm going to give you a call this week, all right? Herman, how are you? No, I never heard of it. Went outside in the dark, too. Wilburn! Wilburn! Dude, I love Wilburn. Oh, thank you, Sonia. The aquatic one. The aquatic experience with the handicapped boy. That one fucked me up. That experience messed me up. Remember that, guys? Yeah, that was really scary. Wilburn, I knew you'd like that, my friend. So, all right, I'll quickly, just briefly off the top of my head. So a handicapped boy in a wheelchair. He's not a boy. He's like 18, 19. His dad and his uncle go fishing. And they go to this remote lake. There's a dock that he's on his wheelchair. He's in the dock. The dad and the uncle go up to get their coolers and their chairs and their stuff, right? All of a sudden, he gets this like jaunt on his line, and he's like, "What the hell?" And he gets pulled into the water. He's handicapped from the waist down. He's fighting for his life. He manages to get onto the dock, and this creature gets on top of him and starts slashing at him. His uncle and dad hit it with everything they have, like log, a chair, whatever, and it eventually goes into the water. Needless to say, the kid was messed up really bad, and he's fine now, but it scarred him for life. I can't really be like, I wish I had it in front of me right now so I could. Yeah, it is tragic, and it is probably one of the craziest experiences I've ever narrated, beside the one with the dad and the son hunting in Virginia, and the crawler kills the dad. Liz, have a good night. Yeah, that one was sad. I did not like that. The one with the little boy though, or the handicapped boy, I think that messed me up more than the others because one, he's handicapped and you feel for him, like leave him alone. He's in a wheelchair, you asshole. What's up, hippie? How are you? Well, you know what, buddy? I just happen to have a crawler experience right in my hands, Ryan Mack. Hey, you're never late. You're always here. All right, here we go. I live in South Georgia, and I leave work at around 10:45 p.m. riding my bike for about 30 minutes to get home on a dimly lit road. Before I take the long ride home, I usually stop at my girlfriend's house, which is around a minute's ride from my work. On one particular night, my phone died once I reached her home. As I was about to leave, we both felt a slight feeling of dread. She wished me a safe ride, and I began to ride home. Just a little bit down the road, the light on the front of my bike died, which meant I was flying almost blind. I stopped and turned on some small little lights on the spokes of the front of my wheel so cars could see me for safety reasons. I know the road to my house very well, so I wasn't worried about my light going out at the time. My neighborhood sits behind a gas station and a restaurant, which with a spacious parking lot on the other side. Another important detail is that the sidewalk is on the side of the restaurant I was riding, very close to the entrance of my neighborhood. I saw a large group of people standing in the parking lot. I rode by not saying a word. I was startled when I heard one of them yelling something that sounded like, "Hey!" It was in a loud, forceful tone. I began to bike faster after hearing this, and I didn't look both ways or stop in the front of the road, rather, just barreled through. As I looked behind me, as I was entering my neighborhood, I was horrified to see that the crowd of people were chasing me on bikes. Terrified, I sped up even more through the neighborhood. I was very scared because I essentially had a beacon on me with the spoke lights on my bike. My neighborhood doesn't have many straight roads, so I tried to lose them as best as I could. I'm a very competent biker, so I managed to turn some corners very fast, and every time I looked back, I saw less of them chasing me. After making a very precocious turn onto one of the straight long roads in the neighborhood, I rode as fast as I could. My house is only one turn away from the end of the road, so I tried to book it to the end. When I was a decent distance down the road, I took one last look behind me and was horrified. There was this huge thing chasing me. It was very lanky and tall, my guess 7 feet. It had a tall, long face. It also had very pronounced long knuckles on its long fingers. I could not make out much more detail other than that, but I definitely remember its pale white skin as it was running faster than I was biking. I was going the fastest I had ever gone on my bike, yet it was catching up to me on foot. It looked like it was exerting itself a lot by running that fast. It was leaning heavily into its run, and its arms were moving quickly. Beside it, it had its hands into fists. I let out an audible yelp due to immense terror I was feeling at that point. I turned the final time onto a smaller street and turned into my driveway, jumping off of my bike that was still moving, threw the door open. Luckily, it was unlocked, and ran inside. When my mom went to see what was up, I told her there was something that chased me. She ran to go and lock the door and heard a noise that sounded like someone say, "Hey," outside. My mom later reported it to the police, and they patrolled the neighborhood for night for about 2 weeks. It was recently that my girlfriend and I were talking about this again, and we realized that that thing was running faster than a human possibly could. She suggested a crawler, and that's what I believe it was. David, have a good night. Well, Tyler, we know how you feel about cryptids now, don't we, Tyler? Kenneth, thank you for joining us tonight, my friend. Good night, Southern Charmer. Thank you for hanging out with us. Aaron Williams in LBL. Forbidden, what's going on? Yeah, I've heard that reptilians can run super fast. Like there's that one experience. Alan Howell, thank you so much, my friend. There was that one experience where those two boys from California had gone, this is God in the 80s, I think, and they had gone into a cave and found like a long hallway. And they had found like this rod and they took it and the things were chasing them down the hall. They were already out of the main hall going up and the thing just like almost morphed. I'm not sure. In the last 30 days, I'm honestly not sure, George. Couple thousand, I think. Oh yeah, the ATV. Yeah, I forgot about that one too, Forbidden Planet. Yes, that's right, because the walls were made of like mirrors, right? Just dropped trow. Yes, yes. Hey, Lisa Marie, how are you? It's not for pre-order yet. And it's the hunt for the big three. One man's life. Yeah, super soldiers are Victor, you mean? Because my Victor, was never on a channel, Melissa, was never on another channel except mine. And if someone else is talking about them being used as super soldiers, that came from here. Because Victor never went on anyone's channel, and I don't even know who Jessica Jones is. Hey, Pops, how are you, dear? But prior to Victor, no one was talking about dogmen being soldiers. No one was talking about a difference between a werewolf and dogman and this and that. And now everybody does. Yes, MJ, it is official. I talked to his son. I said this months ago. Charlie Knight. Thank you, Alan Howell, for recognizing that. I miss Victor a lot. Like, I miss him so much. I will never forget when his son called me and we were talking about him being poisoned. Oh, yeah. I don't know. He was definitely not on that show. He's been dead long before whoever that is. And a lot of those shows just copy what other channels say, especially when they're small and stuff. I don't know about Russia. That's interesting. I heard that Russia's military used a scientist's discovery to figure out how to cloak. I remember that too, John. Dude, I miss those. I miss those live streams that we did. When, dude, we put him on the spot. We put Victor on the spot. And we're like, hey, he didn't know. Like Summer asked, and a ton of other people were like, hey, can you? Yes. About 8 months now, Darren K. Yeah, Vic Cundiff. Yeah, good for him. He's a chode. Did I say that out loud? Fuck, I can't say things that I feel. Mike, thank you. Yes, I do too. Dude, I got sad the other day when I was listening to an old show of Victor, and I started to think about like him, and I like got choked up. Like I literally got choked up. Like, hang on. Like, this is the forward. This is the forward to the book. This book is about a friend of mine whose lifetime job was hunting cryptids, Dogman, werewolves, and Sasquatch, the big three. Victor reached out to me in March of 2020, and we hit it off. I grew to consider him a close friend. Through this, he had shared a lot of his hunts with me and more. Victor Johnson is the real-life Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in the movie Predator. He put his life on the line daily, working with an alphabet agency of the United States government, whether it be from the big three or foreign and domestic forces. I hope through this book you will realize that there are real monsters stalking humanity, but also that there are heroes. And then I listened to an upload. Dude, I like, you ever meet somebody and you're just like, they're taken, like, where the fuck did he go? And then boop, like, I don't know. John, good for you, buddy. The Indian here, we need to go to get information you see. They did. They poisoned him. We were. I remember when his son called me, so that's what I was going to say. And he's like, my dad, I think, is poisoned. And then I was like, yeah. I'm like, because I had done an interview with him. So we did an interview, and then he said goodbye. I'll call you in a week or two. And then his son calls me like 3 days later. And he had said he didn't feel good and his kidneys were failing. And I'm like, wait, why is his kidneys failing? He didn't have any issues before. And there was 2 Marines stationed outside of his hospital room, which he was stationed, or his hospital was in Virginia, a military hospital. And it was fucked up. And then the last conversation I ever had with him was when he was at a hospital. And he's literally, like, I can hear the nurses in the background, and he's talking about Dogman with me in front of the nurses. And I'm like, I just said it. I run with scissors. I just said that I confirmed it with his son. Like 5 minutes ago. Me too, Des. The craziest conversation I ever had was with his daughter-in-law, which was like shocking because she called me out of the blue. But then when his son said, check this out, his son, the Alaska hunt was up and everything had gone on with his there's a whole Melissa, there's a whole playlist, and his name's Victor, not Vic. And I'm not just saying that like to be a jerk, but he didn't go by Vic. His name's Victor. There's a whole playlist dedicated to him, interviews, experiences, Q&As. We put him on the spot. The gifting rock, the sharing stone. The sharing stone. All right. Forbidden Planet, 100%. There's like 20,000 people that disappeared. That disappeared in the last like 6-7 years. Pat Master, I'm glad that you're here. I was reading your stuff that you were saying, and I agreed with a lot of what you were saying too. Thank you, Brandy. Okay. I grew up an only child in rural northeastern PA. I used to sneak out of my bedroom and hang out in our backyard on summer nights when I had trouble sleeping or woke up in the middle of the night. This was around the age of 8. It was the mid-90s. I'd just go sit at the top of the hill in our backyard, where I was out of sight from our kitchen window. There were trees to the left with a wide open field across the rest of the mile-wide valley. We had a large hill with a bump in the middle that was perfect for sledding in the winter. Below that was a field with deer trail cutting through the bottom of the hill and a creek beyond at the center of the valley. On the clear night with a bright moon, you could see clear across the valley to where my best friend's house was. They had floodlights on all night behind their house. It was about a mile away. And when I say rural, I mean very rural PA. Parent-teachers conferences were scheduled the first day of hunting season, and kids would often be out for a couple of days just for that reason. We had 2 houses within eye line of our house from our backyard. It was more than 30 miles to our nearest Walmart. I also grew up very familiar with deer, rabbit, bear, and saw a mountain lion once while hiking with my family. All of this to say, I'm pretty familiar with wildlife. The first night I saw a dogman was like no other. I was chilling in the grass, thrilled to just be doing something my parents didn't know about. I saw something moving quickly along the deer trail. It was dark black against the rest of the night, partway through the path from the woods beyond the house. It noticed me and stopped. We stared at each other for what felt like a while. It stood up, and its ears were long enough to notice from 100 yards away. It was too thin to be a bear, which I had already seen a few times at that age. Staring continued for a long time. Eventually, it put its ears down and put its front paws back on the ground and sprinted across the valley. I called it my werewolf because of the shape of it standing. But after that first sighting, I went outside and sat more and more. I remember once during a new moon, I sat on the porch because I was too scared to go out that far in the dark. I saw it 3 or 4 more times after that. It was usually running into the woods by my house, which was more than 10 acres owned just for hunting. This creature never bothered me after that, but I remember I was disappointed when it got cold outside and I had to stop going outside because I wouldn't see it again. Yeah, Mount Shasta. There's a dumb under Mount Shasta. I did a bunch of videos. Hey, baby girl, how are you? I did a bunch of videos about where the dumbs are located, and I shared a map on the channel. One, Gerald. One. That was in the Black Hills in South Dakota. Love you, baby girl. Have a good night, baby. I'll see you in a little bit. All right. Ooh, this is one I wanted to share. Yeah, absolutely. That's another reason. That's another thing that I was. Thank you for bringing that up, Forbidden Planet. So, another reason why I said about Elon, right? Now, Bill Cooper, Paul Schaefer, or Phil Schneider, Bill Cooper, Tom Castiello, and a few others all talk about these dumbs in having the tubes from Dulce that go to Teos, that go to Shasta, that go to every other place, right? This is talked about in the 60s and 70s, 80s, and the locomotion is done by a electric or magnetic, right? Through these tunnels. Elon has a company called the Boring Company, Boring, like boring, and specifically digs tunnels for locomotion with electric vehicles. And I was like, dude, that is so weird. Yeah. But 30 years ago, they were talking about that. And now Elon wants to do it. So it's like, it's already done. Is he talking about that because there is going to be a disclosure about them soon? Maybe. Darren K, I'd love to hear it, buddy. Oh, dude, you got to send me it. You got to. Do you have my email address, Darren? What's up, Sully? Yeah, I think so. Probably in San Bernardino. Let me look at my map that I have. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. House is looking good, Sumner. All right, so on the map that I have saved on my phone, it does appear to be 29 Palms over into, up into Shasta. Gringo, thank you, buddy. I've got a bunch of Steve Quayle books here. That he's a very big hero of mine. I've been researching Melissa for like 30 years, not just saying it to like because because I love this. Like I genuinely love this. I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I think I'm more of a researcher. Like I go out in the woods to where Tom Mezek disappeared and want to find proof of it. I just want evidence of all of this, especially like these attacks that have happened when in 2019 to 2022. I am Darren K. I am right under. I put my email under Melissa and above OG hash. What's up, OG? How are you, buddy? I didn't say hi to you. Let me go see if he's out. Let me see if he's out. Hang on. Here, buddy. I'll get some treats and I'll get him in here. Come on. Come on, buddy. One of his favorite kinds of treats. Everyone wants to say hi to you. Come here. Everyone wants to say hi. Everyone wants to say hi, buddy. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. Aw, there he is. There he is. There he is. Oh, good boy. Here's your treats. Here you go, buddy. There you go, buddy. The channel's mascot. Big old Thge. Good boy. You go, boy. What's up, Ricardo? How are you, buddy? Okay. All right. This next experience is fiction. It is a lot lizard experience. Thank you, OG. Darren K, did you get my email? My email address? I put it out. Did you get it? Oh, I love Thge Allen. No, I don't watch other channels. I don't read other people's stuff. I research on my own stuff. I'm not big into other people. I consider myself a researcher. I don't watch channels. I don't do any kind of weird, you know what I mean? No, I'm not familiar with too many people. All right. I'm doing well, Ricardo. I'm doing well. Popo.
He wants that $20 because it's $20, baby.
I never heard of him. Maybe does he have a book? I've got God's Ghostbusters up here right now that I've been reading. I don't know if you ever heard that. Darren. Yes. Okay, cool. I do want to talk with you. I'd like to have you on this week, but if you could write or type out your experience too for me, because I like to collect them. It's just my own little weird. All right, here we go. Fiction. This is fiction. This is a lot lizard story. Take a deep breath, I told myself as I pulled into a deserted truck stop in dead of the night. The dimly lit sign flickered ominously above my head, casting an eerie glow over the empty parking lot. I'd been driving for hours. The only company I had was the dull hum of the radio in an endless stretch of an empty highway. As I climbed out the cab of my truck, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of my stomach. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end as I scanned the lot, searching for any signs of life. And that's when I saw her. She was standing at the edge of the lot, bathed in shadow but unmistakably human. A woman, thin and wiry, with long tangled hair that hung in greasy strands around her face. She wore a short skirt that barely covered her thighs, and her eyes glittered in the darkness like a feral animal. I hesitated, unsure of what to do. The rational part of my brain said ignore her, to lock my door and stay inside until morning. But something about the way she looked, hungry and desperate, made me pause. I approached her cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She smiled, revealing yellow teeth that glinted in the moonlight. "I'm just looking for some company," she purred with a voice low and sultry. I recoiled. My instincts screamed, "Run!" But something held me in place, rooted to the spot as she stepped closer, her hand reaching out to touch my arm. "Come with me," she whispered, her breath hot against my ear. "I can make you feel good." I shook my head, backing away from her slowly. "Nope, I'm sorry, I gotta go." I turned and fled, to the sound of laughter echoing in my ears. As I climbed back into my truck, I slammed the door shut. I tried to shake off the encounter, but the memory of her haunted me, a lingering sense of dread that refused to let me go. I drove through the night, the road stretching out endlessly before me, checking my mirrors constantly, half expecting to see her lurking in the shadows behind me. But she was nowhere to be found, just a figment of my imagination conjured up by the darkness and loneliness. I pulled into another truck stop as the sun began to rise. The first light of dawn creeping over the horizon, I parked my truck and climbed out, revealed to see a few other drivers milling about, getting ready for another day on the road. But as I walked toward the restroom, I saw her again, the same woman, her eyes cold and calculating as she watched me approach. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as she stepped into my path. "You can't run from me," she said, her voice a low growl that sent shivers down my spine. "I'm always here, waiting for you." I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with fear and confusion. How could she be here, in a different truck stop miles away from where I had first seen her? Was she following me, stalking me like prey? I turned and sprinted toward my truck, fumbling with the keys, trying to unlock the door. But when I finally looked up, she was there, standing in front of me with a predatory smile on her face. "Let me in," she hissed, her hand reaching out to grab me. "I promise you'll never be lonely again." I screamed in pure terror, coursing through my veins as I shoved her away and jumped into my truck. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my hands trembling as I fumbled with the keys and my phone. I called the police, my voice trembling as I explained what had happened. They arrived quickly, but when they searched the truck stop, there was no sign of the woman anywhere. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind an only lingering sense of dread. As I drove away from that truck stop, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still out there, watching and waiting for me. A mysterious, elusive figure, a cryptid in the form of a hooker truck stop lot lizard, haunting the lonely highways of the night. And I knew, deep down, that I would never be able to escape her ghostly presence, no matter how far or fast I drove into the darkness. Oh, yeah, baby. Dude, the most ferocious cryptid ever, the lot lizard. She will poison you. She will give you just diseases beyond diseases. She's half reptilian, half crab carrier. She's just blue. Darren K, you know who else? So Darren K just said something about Brad and the attraction that people have, the pheromones. You know who else had that is Donald Coleman Jr. And he talked about it. Well, he was interviewed by Kumbo like 10 years ago before I even met him. And, I really think that people do have this kind of attraction, like this pheromone that comes out. Just like when lot lizards get attracted to people, they're, You know that, no cap. Just put the IRL. Put my YouTube channel IRL on a poster and put it in a truck stop bathroom. And like old Faster Pussycat song, got my number off the bathroom wall. And I think it's about time I made the call. Got my number off the bathroom wall. The fuck is wrong with me? We had 300 people tonight at one point. Yeah, that's what lot lizards kind of are. It's a joke. It's San Francisco Bay Wastewater Ops. It's kind of a joke that we have here. Like it started a while ago. Like I made this funny joke about lot lizards being a cryptid. Dude, Faster Pussycat was awesome. Babbling On was one of their greatest songs. Babbling on and on. Barney and Buffy are with Barney and Buffy are with Billy and Barney are with Buffy and Biffy. Some homeboy says, "Hey guys, you want some sniffy?" On the table was a punch and we splatter spike. Oh, dude, lot lizards need love too, baby, and it's only $20. Lillian Axe, holy shit. I haven't heard that band in a while. Lillian Axe, wow. LA Guns, dude, LA Guns. I never heard of Smashing Gladys. Craigers. New York Dolls were good. Hanoi Rocks is one of my favorite bands, though, when I was growing up. I loved Hanoi Rocks. They probably did chart. They're like, had to peek like I was a pervert. Oh, you see me like... The Lot Lizards would be a badass punk band. Ooh, Gigi Allen and the Lot Lizards. Ooh, 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 ooh. Who else would be in the band? We'd have Thge Allen. Fucking my God. Fucking my brain just shut off. Johnny Rotten will be in the band just for fun. The other fucker that killed fucking what's her name? Sid Vicious. No, Sid Vicious, Thge Allen. Fuck it, Dave Lombardo, because he's the best drummer ever. And playing bass. No, Vicious played bass. Johnny Rotten on guitar. There it is. The Lot Lizards. Jakey, don't do it. Don't do it. I make it to the trail. I remember when I want to visit Appalachian, New York. How far is it from me? I'm right here. The Adirondacks are part of the Appalachian, New York. I live right in it. Yeah, Dave Lombardo, Suicidal Tendencies. Like I said, the best drummer ever is, in my eyes, is Dave Lombardo. Travis Barker is like a joke compared to Lombardo. Nelson. John Bonham? No, John Bonham was all right. What are you doing, Thge? I think Thge just dump ass out there. John Bonham, he's an all right drummer. I think he was overrated. Overrated because he played with Led Zeppelin and died. But he was an amazing drummer. But there's better drummers than John Bonham. His son's better than him. Ooh, Courtney Love. Courtney Love could be the backup singer for the Lot Lizards with Joan Jett. Joan Jett, baby. What's up, Zilla? How are you, buddy? All right, last encounter of the night, kids. The only person I ever shared this with was my wife at the time, now my ex, and she laughed and accused me of making it up. Before I get into my encounter, let me give you a little backstory. I was born in Mobile, Alabama in 1964. Up until my mid-20s, I had never been any higher ground than a couple of 100 feet above sea level. In the mid-'80s to the 90s, my sister had gotten married and moved to Rowan Mountain in eastern Tennessee. My wife and I took a trip up there to visit for a week. After a few days of running around and seeing the sights, we spent the day just hanging out at the house. This led to a few cold brews being consumed and grilling getting fired up that evening. Later that night, maybe 9 p.m., I went out to the back porch to get another brewski. That's when I noticed about a half a dozen deer about 100 yards out in the field behind the house. One had a nice rack, and it wasn't a lot lizard. And I couldn't quite make out the number of points, so I slipped off the porch and eased to the corner of the fence, which put me 60 to 70 yards away from them. As I'm standing there against the fence watching the deer, the big one was a nice 10-pointer, minimum 200 class. That's when I noticed the moon. When I say I noticed, I mean noticed. It was huge and seemed so much closer than I'd ever seen it before. Now, I've been out to the Gulf of Mexico at night, and I've been able to witness the moon well away from any city lights. And you can see all kinds of detail on the surface of the moon with the naked eye. But that night, I finally understood the word awesome means, or awestruck. So I'm standing at the fence watching the deer, or was supposed to be, but I can't take my eyes off this big glowing yellowish orange ball of light that seems to be just out of reach. So after what I thought was maybe 20 minutes, I found out later was like an hour, I was noticing a tickling sensation on the back of my neck. I shrugged my shoulders and turned my neck a couple of times, trying to shake loose whatever was tickling me. And then just then, the deer got spooked and bounced away. The noise finally forced me to break my gaze on the moon. And that's when I realized that I've probably been out here long enough. I decided to go back inside. I took one last look and mumbled, "Wow," at the beauty of this little sun-reflecting satellite that orbits our world. And that's when it hit me. I felt the hot breath of a huge creature hit the back of my neck at the same time hearing or feeling the deepest chest rumbling I'd ever heard. I spied to my right, looking over my shoulder, and all I could see was black as far as my peripheral vision would allow. It was all Bigfoot. This all happened within a split second. When I got my head around far enough, I realized that my face was maybe 8 to 10 inches away from this thing's upper abdomen. Looking up, I saw this beast's pectoral muscle stick off its chest 6 inches. It was huge. That's what she said. His chest was every bit of 4 to 5 feet wide. Shoulders were as big as basketballs, added another foot or so on each. This thing was at least 6 feet wide at its shoulders. I've not got a good look at its hands or face, but its arms were probably more impressive than its chest and shoulders. If Hulk Hogan had 24-inch pythons, this creature's were 28 to 30. His forearms would make Popeye jealous. His arms were covered in long, dark hair, maybe 4 to 5 inches in length. If I had to guess, this behemoth stood 10 feet tall and weighed 600 to 700 pounds. As far as its face goes, from the angle I was at, all I could make out was a squared off chin. I couldn't see a nose, eyes, or ears, or raised brow ridge. Conical had nothing, so I can't say whether it looked more human or ape. Its arms were more like an ape's, but its chest was human-like, just a little more hairy than most. Now, this is where it gets weird. As I mentioned earlier, it all happened in a split second. As I spun around and was in the process of looking up, this thing was going from bent over position to standing straight up and taking a step back to its right. As it pulled its left leg over to its right, it was like it slipped through a slit in a green screen. I'm not sure if that was a portal or some sort of interdimensional doorway or what. All I know is this thing was huge and vanished in a split second. By the way, there was no foul smell associated with the creature. There was a slight musty odor, but it reminded me of a smell a horse gives off. I mean, you could smell it, but I'm not going to say it was a stench. I will say this. I hear a lot of people saying that these things are evil and demons, and they may be. All I know is I got the impression that this beast was intelligent and appreciated my interest in the moon. The that made me feel the same way I would when I do something that would make my grandfather proud, and he would give me that same approving that Bigfoot did. You just never had the same volume or power as this thing did. Jakey, you got to send it to me. You've been talking about it for years now, brother. All right, guys. 2 hours and 18 minutes in. Oh, my God. Nicole Clark. Courtney Love is patient 0. That's so funny. That is so funny. I heard that too, Sumner. I heard that too. Guys, I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Stacy, thank you. Gringo. No, I work 16 hours a day on this channel, Melissa, so I'm not just getting started. All right, guys. I want to thank you all for spending Saturday night with me. And in about an hour, maybe half hour, 45 minutes, early morning, middle of the night bonus upload will be out. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me. I know you guys could be doing other things, but You guys spent it with me, so thank you. Have a good night. I love you. I love you all.